Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be trying out a brew in Historic Best of 3. So we got notice that March will be the Metagame Madness. We have 3 weeks worth of Metagame challenges coming in March. One being Historic, one being Explore, one being Standard. Now I'm trying to do the Metagame breakdowns for Historic and Explore, but since there's only about a week of data for the new set, not really much showing up right now. So I thought the best way to kind of reintroduce myself, I've been playing a lot of Timeless lately, is to just jump in and play some games in Historic and see if any new ideas work out in the format. I really want to just kind of get reintroduced. I know there's still like the Artifact decks, there's Mono Green Devotion, there's going to be like Wizards, Ninjas, stuff of that nature. There might be some Merfolk, but the deck I'm going to be playing today is a Madness deck. So Madness is usually you discard stuff and you get a reduced cost. So you have Fiery Temper, which is basically Lightning Bolt at home. You Madness it, you get to cast it from discard for a mana. We have Blazing Rootwalla that Madnesses for 0 in the deck. But what we're trying to do is take advantage of the discard. With Inti, you get basically virtual card advantage. So we can discard cards and then we kind of draw cards through that notion. So we'll go through cards by card. Fatal Pushes is some removal. Artillery Enthusiast is our modified creature, so things with counters have menace. Plays really nicely with the Inti because the Inti puts counters on things, which it becomes modified. When we enters the battlefield, you can discard a card. If you do, you seek a card with mana value equal to that card's mana value. So you can kind of discard, find something else. The Rootwallas are basically free 1/1s that can pump. Faithless Looting, there's no Bowmaster, or there's Nerf Bowmaster in this format, so we can play Lootings. This lets us just kind of churn through our deck. Flameblade Adept, 1 mana, 1/2 menace. Whenever you cycle or discard, it gets +1. Bitter Triumph, catch-all removal for creatures or planeswalkers that enables discard. Bloodghast could come back from the graveyard, so it doesn't really care. Like, we don't care if it gets discarded. We have Rakdos Headliner, 2 mana, 3/3 with Echo. At the beginning of our upkeep, we have to discard a card, so it kind of enables those strategies as well. If you don't, you sacrifice it. Smuggler's Copter, we got this on the client. So this plays really nicely with Inti because you discarded the card, and normally you're just kind of net negative, or like net value, right? You draw a card, you discard a card, but with Inti you get to draw a card and then get to play the exile card. So you're kind of netting out. One of my favorite red cards, Ambergris. So we can't play this in since Bowmaster runs Timeless, but really like this card as a top end kind of threat in red-based aggro. 3 mana, 3/2 haste, and then when you attack with it, you can discard your hand and draw 2 cards. It can also specialize. So for 3 mana, you can discard a card that's either red or black or has basic line type, and then it transforms. So if you transform into red Ambergris, when it attacks, basically same draw, like discard draw, but it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of cards you've discarded this turn. And then the black one gives a creature -XX. Fiery Temper, and then 1 Ox of Agonis on the top end. Really, we're in an ideal state, we're never going to be casting this for 5 mana. We'll be escaping it from our graveyard for 2. Mana base, we got a Den of the Bugbear, we got Takenuma, we have Restless Vents in here, and then we have Phyrexian Scrapyard, a discard enabler from our hand. So you can discard cards from your hand, it's a land, and then we can basically get copies of Soul of New Phyrexia. So the original list came from a friend of mine, Maffy, was playing it. I tweaked it a little bit to my liking. And we're going to give it a go. The sideboard is going to be Thoughtseizes for hand hate, Pithing Needle for activated abilities, Molten Collapse is more removal, Soul Cauldron, as well as Unlicensed Hearse as different types of graveyard hate. We got some Liliana for the control matchups, Brotherhood's End for creature decks, particularly the artifact decks, blows them out that way. And then in this last slot, so Seasoned Pyromancer is probably one of my top 5 favorite cards on Arena. It's everything I want in a red card, but the main board is a little bit more aggressively slanted with Ambergris. I think in the more grindy matchups, I do want to try Seasoned Pyromancer. The other card I was considering is Omnixilus, potentially in this slot. You could also just play things like a Braid, but a lot of the deck gets swept up by Divine Purge right now, including the Smuggler's Copter. So I did want to have something for just grindy card advantage. I may want still a Planeswalker here. Omnixus, Chandra, Torch of Defiance, stuff like that. But I haven't played this format in a while, so we're going to give it a go, see how it plays out in practicality. So let's fire this up. Timeless, or not timeless. This deck would do very poorly with all the card draw in this form, in Timeless, but let's figure this out. So we'll probably do this a game or two, like a deck or two in Historic to try things out, and then there's a couple decks in Explore as well as we get reintroduced into the format. One deck I'm interested in Explore is the Gruul Vehicles. I have the deck in paper in Pioneer. I built the deck and I haven't played it yet. And then kind of the meta shifted pretty hard, but there's quite a few different versions of it, so we're going to give it a shot, see how it plays out in Explore as well. But we'll be back with metagames. Like, as soon as I could get some stats, I was really trying to pull stuff for like Historic and Explore, but there really wasn't anything like solid. Particularly best of three is just not populating yet, but we'll play first. I think we're okay with this hand. I mean, this goes turn one. Alright, so turn one killer thing, we could discard a looting. We'll give this a shot. I mean, the mana's really good here. I would love a one drop or something to follow up with the Copter. Are they Geist combo? Like, I don't want to play against Geist combo. If that's the case, I think we're gonna proactively loot. Gonna get rid of probably these two. Oh, they're not. They just had really bad draws. Yeah, they're Dredge. So different deck than what I thought. So we'll start with the Headliner here. They just had a terrible draw. This one will be interesting. We could bring in the Graveyard Hate. You don't see Dredge that often in best of three, just given that it's fairly soft. See the Narcomoeba come down, as well as Creeping Chill. Get Silver Smoke back, so we're going to discard here. Do want to hit this line drop, so I think we're going to go discard these two. And I'm just going to take out the Ghoul here. So they don't have enough cards for that yet. We'll get back our Bloodghast. So actually drawing a land here would be the best bet, just because it would enable the Fatal Push, but if not, we're just going to Ambergris, try to find some cards. So they did that on their upkeep. Another Stitcher. These Stitchers are annoying, just fueling, and they hit both, so they're going to be able to get us there. I think we're just going to go to sideboard here. We just need the Graveyard Hate in this matchup. Brotherhood's End's actually pretty solid. We will go Soul Cauldron and Unlicensed Hearse. Outside of that, in this matchup, just having the blockers might be useful. I think we get rid of Bloodghast in this matchup. It just doesn't do much. The Oxes are fine. Probably trim on a couple Faithless Lootings. And I do want to keep the Copters. I think they're probably the best. Probably just trim on all the Lootings, to be honest. We'll run it back like that. one of those cases, like, if you see them that aggressively mulliganing, I think that they're more likely than not. We'll play first. I'm going to keep this hand just because Hearst is so good here. We just need to draw a land. $20 lands, so 35%. Any land works. Give me a land. Give me a land. Perfect. I'm just gonna get this going. Not gonna attack yet. So I think we're gonna, so they brought in ley lines against us, which is pretty weak, and I guess it does exile some of it. I am gonna exile the 2 prized amalgams. I guess I could get rid of the Narcomoeba this turn, since it won't enter the, no, but Silver Smote will enter the battlefield. What I could do is get rid of the Silver Smote this turn and the Narcomoeba. So that way they don't get it back. Next turn I can get rid of the prized amalgams. So maybe I should have held off on, because they attack here. I probably should have just gone Smuggler's Copter. Just looking into that. I think this is actually a weird matchup. The gaze here. Okay, so they're just done here. Still think we do want the top end here. Ox is fine. Actually, since they brought in the ley lines, I don't think we play Ox. So that just discards into exile, so it's fine, all things considered. I still think we're okay. I guess just Molten Collapse. I guess we can play 1 looting. Like the first copy's fine. It helps us dig for like the payoff pieces. Like really what we're trying to do is find a copy of our payoff, like our payoff artifacts. So maybe we do that. As long as we control the graveyard, it's like the biggest impact in this matchup. If they're going to be mulling for Leyline, it largely doesn't impact us. So I actually think, especially because we don't have a play on 1 and our play on 2 is pretty weak. Okay, so again, just because I think having the Cauldron is so important in this matchup. We just need to hit a land. Same as last time, let's hit that land. We hit the land, we're in a really good spot. We don't hit the land, we're in a little bit of a rough spot. We're just playing Rootwalla. Give me a land. Give me a land. pretty rough. We're just gonna take the damage here. So annoying. So annoying. Give me a land. Yeah, they had double glimpse. I mean, they're missing on a lot of stuff, but they got a couple back, so we probably just lose this one. Too far back at this point. We could have kept one of those earlier hands, but in retrospect, it probably was fine. I do think I want another piece of graveyard hate. In this format, I think having the availability there. If we hit the line on 2, then we win that game. And I think it's right to mulligan for it. Like, that's kind of the payoff of the deck. I don't think there's really activated abilities in this deck that matter too much. I think we just trim on a Season Pyro and play another Curse. Like, we could have gone ley lines ourselves, but I actually don't like ley lines. I prefer the vehicle package, or like the artifacts, provides a little bit more utility. Weird game all around. And like I said, you don't usually see Dredge. You saw in game 2 there how they just kind of fall apart, the graveyard hate. This is probably Wizards. So we're gonna go Blackcleave's Fatal Push Your Thing, Smuggler's Copter, and then Inti to crew the Smuggler's Copter. This could be Phoenix. So depending what they do here, I also have access to Faithless Looting to discard. Okay, they're on just like an older version with Sleight of Hand. I do kind of want to hit a land here, I think. I think we're going to discard an Inti. And Fiery Temper. Fortunately, we drew Takenuma and not another red source. Because now I can't Artillery Enthusiast to crew the copter. I think it's still fine. We have the Fatal Push for the follow-up play here. Really, we just want to try to connect with this Ambergris once we're empty-handed. Okay, so here they went with that. Means their hand's pretty soft. They could have removal. I could Inti Artillery. To try to find another land. I think we start with Inti. Tomb could be alright. We can discard the Artillery Enthusiast. But that gives me a second body, so we'll probably do this. Discard a card here, we get another activation, so that's great. Gives me the land I wanted. And then this lets me just play all the cards, so. I'm gonna hold this for now. I think I want Fatal Push available. They're on the ring version. I think this version's much worse. So to me, this kind of suggests that they could potentially have removal spell. So I think here I do crew. They have to decide what they want to kill now. That's fine with me. So we do lose the push, but I think just keeping push up is fine. Push their thing on instep, Ambergris, because now we have a number of threats that they need to address. Gantha's pretty chunky. Okay, so we have second copter. Only once per turn. So I could play Ambergris, try to get that value. I think we start here. Okay, so I think we're good on lands at this point. I could looting again, but I think we're just going to set up a second copter. It gives me multiple flying bodies that we can go over the top with, and I can just fatal push if they have a creature here. What I want to try to entice them, because this is going to be our payoff. I do want to hold this if possible. Like looting here doesn't really provide me huge amounts of value. I guess the land, because we discarded the Bloodghast, could have some utility. Okay, so we got Fiery Temper here. Also have Ambergris. I have Ambergris that I can use, but I think we're just gonna make them have it at this point. Sure. Sure. You got it. I think we're fine with this. They're basically spinning their wheels at this point. They've used now 2 Wizard's Lightning. So I do think this turn we're gonna play out Ambergris. Take action here. I'm gonna play out Ambergris. So they basically need 2 instant speed removal spells here. And with this damage, I'm just gonna go face. They can deal with the Ambergris, but we're just gonna kill them that way there. Really weird draw from Wizards. They drew like all their churn, but no creatures. Like I just have lethal with this in hand. Okay, so Flame of Anor. Something to keep in mind. Here, they theoretically could kill me. 11, 14. Close. Always gotta be mindful of the Wizards deck with burst damage. So in this matchup, I think I do want some Grave Hate. I think we're gonna bring in the other removal. I don't think this is a matchup where we want Brotherhood's End, but I do think we want Seasoned Pyromancer. Liliana's another card to be considered. I do think the lootings are a bit weak in this matchup. They're just a little slow. Largely, I've been kind of off the looting. Like with the copters, there might be other like discard effects that we can look at in the deck. I guess we have like 2 pieces of Graveyard Hate. They are like somewhat graveyard centric, but not heavy. We may on the play for a catch up. I don't even think we want Brotherhood's End on the play. Like we have a good chunk of removal. Everything else considered. I guess it might be hard to enable the discard on this without looting. We should be fine. I do like this for catch up. Lily tends to be a bit slow. Let's run it like this. We'll see how it is. Bloodghast isn't anything special in the deck, but it just keeps coming back, so their targeted removal is not going to do a huge amount. What we might see is some Graveyard Hate out of them. So in this matchup, it's not as impactful to aggressively mulligan to the Graveyard Hate. If you have it, it's a bonus. If you don't, it's not the end of the world if you could generally control their creatures. In this matchup, having the removal is more important. We may want the Brotherhood's End, but we are pretty creature dense. What might actually, depending on the matchup, be reasonable is Witch's Vengeance, the 3-mana sweeper you name Wizards. Because we have Ox, Human Shaman, Dwarf Cleric. I think we're okay with this one. I think we killed this unless they have... Follow up is... I think the way our hand is right now, because like this is scary with getting multiple spells back. I can block this. This is evasive, so I can't really block the damage. So I think at this point we get rid of you. Hey, that's a good one. Just gonna kill everything right now. I can Seasoned Pyromancer away the Rootwalla. Hopefully get a little bit more interaction. So I think I'm actually gonna do this first, because they might have Aether Gust. Turn Scolding. Just fine. Getting that countered versus our Flameblade is pretty good. I actually don't want to get rid of the Bitter Triumph. I actually should have just held the line, cast this. See what they do here. Because I can Bitter Triumph, discard Rootwalla for value. Flame of Lenore. So we get our madness here. So they do get double trigger here, but this does likely mean I could sneak this down. Both are good here. I'm going to do Pyro because it presents multiple bodies. Ambergris still needs to attack in. And now I have this Swarm Yard that I can start activating. This version of the deck's so much worse. Like, you lose the instant speed. Like, I'm not afraid of play with fires out of this deck. Kind of annoying. I do want to follow up with Ambergris next turn for the attack. Their removal sorcery speed. So I'm not really interested at this time. Like, they did have Flame of Anor, but they only had 2 mana up. So I can just Season Pyromancer next turn. It gives me multiple bodies to crew the Smuggler's Copter. Okay. I think here... I mean, Flame of Anor is gonna kill me anyways. I think we're just gonna keep pushing through. Okay, no Flame of Anor is nice. Just gonna play another Copter here. Again, just trying to differentiate my threats. If they cast Chingantha here, yeah, they soak up the Ambergris. But we have Swarm Yard. Double Sage is a bit annoying. Another removal. No pause there is nice. We get to loot away these 2 lands. You can see how this deck could do terrible and timeless. Well, we can stop with lands. We're gonna hold this. What's the last card in hand here? So, Brew Up. Again, they do have a pause here. But we do have access to this having Menace. This will also get bigger. So they will need a couple pieces of removal here. See how they go to blocks. We also have this Swarm Yard. Okay, so they had the Wizard's Lightning. But we'll present our threats, see what they do. We have this with haste. Opting to get a bit aggressive here. That does take him off a blocker. Dreadhorde. Should do it. So if they just kept it back, they had blocks this turn, but with the double headliner, we get them that way there. All right, so Copter doing its thing. So yeah, weird one against Dredge. Having played that, like, I like elements of this deck. I think it is powerful there. I do think we probably want to go the full package here. So I do think we want... I don't think looting's good enough, and I think I want Seasoned Pyromancer in the main. I think trying to attack in is a little rough. So if we move Seasoned main, play the play set, I think we trim down lootings. Having ones to crew Copter is important, I think. The Inti was pretty good. Honestly, like, nah, that was fine. The Headliner's okay, but I think of our cards, it's probably the worst. I do think I want the full set of Bloodghast. While I can't block, it had some utility there. I think the question is, do I want more copies of like the Enthusiast just helping me find cards? Like I discard a Temper, I discard a Temper, I find Seasoned Pyromancer is kind of cool. Maybe we try like that with a couple lootings. I think like largely we're going to be taking out the lootings. And then I think we just want like a generic removal spell. As we saw in that Wizards game, we might just want like another copy of Bitter Triumph. We don't really have an answer to Jingantha. And against most threats, I think it's reasonable. Against mono green, it could be reasonable. So let's just play another Triumph. Kind of run it like that. Because now we have like, actually, I do want a Kroxa in here. So I guess this gets better with like the discard. So what forces our discard? This discards. We want the cheap cards to enable the Copter, but subsequent cards can also work. I do want Kroxa in here, so maybe we do a 3-1 split with a Kroxa. Kind of run it like that. Doing Kroxa and Ox though, I think we can cut Ox here because we have the Pyromancer now, and then this lowers our curve quite a bit. Do like that. Swarmyard's an interesting enabler. Alright, let's give this one more shot. See how it plays out. I like this because there's graveyard elements, and then we can always shift out of the graveyard component. It's not like you're all in on that idea, where something like a Leyline or gets you, like, it could be a little annoying. The Copters have been really nice, and I am liking this kind of sort through the top of your deck kind of approach. So we've played Wizards, we've played Dredge. Dredge wasn't really something I was expecting to see in best of 3. Wizards was. I would like to play against mono green ideally. I'm interested to see how that matchup goes. they can gum up the board pretty well, and they do have creatures with reach. So I'd be interested to see how we play into that matchup. This hand is no good. I will keep this hand. I'm gonna put a Rootwalla back. Blue-white control. My mortal enemy. Okay, so this could be no more lies. I think we go copter here. While it could play into a counter. This is a matchup where I'd want Ob Nixilis. Oh, they just cycle Shark Typhoon. Okay, so they could have Divine Purge. That's a card that is featured a lot in here. Main board, rest in peace, Jesus. Well, that is certainly annoying. So I think here, like I said, we don't necessarily get heavily impacted by this, but just the composition of our hand in particular in this matchup gets us. This gets around because it gets put into exile. So Divine Purge will get us here, bit annoying. Perfect curve. I think we go copter here. Gives me the most options. They're at 10. Got a bit of burn. Purge not being like a clean answer. Especially if they have the Shark Typhoon here. Pretty solid. So we can Inti, I can Hellraiser. Swarmyar. This is a bit tricky because the thing is I want Pyro because it's got a lot of utility here, but I actually think the Restless Vents in this matchup's got a lot of utility. So let's hope that we hit a land. It's another Inti. Just gonna pass here. Another Purge is pretty bad. Like, not the end of the world. So you're 3. I think we do this and then just play Rootwalla. We'll hold the land that we can discard to the Headliner. I mean, in this game we've got in double Divine Purged and Rest in Peace. Opponents stumbled on lands. Here they're going to need multiple removal spells. Okay, so they charm here. Discard the land. Then I think we're just going to present multiple threats. Any of these on their own is lethal next turn. So again, they need 3 answers. Charm alone isn't going to do it. Cool. So this is a match, like I said, I would like up Nyxus. We're going to bring in the Lilianas. We're going to bring in the Thoughtseizes. I think that's it. We could needle something like a Teferi, but I think I want to be proactive. Because we saw the main board, so we're going to take out the Fatal Pushes. I think we take out the Kroxa, given that we saw main board hate. I mean, they have to have the Rest in Peace, and even on its own, it's okay. Like, I probably want that more than looting. Like, I just want threats. I want everything to be either hand hate or kind of go from there. I'm Faithless Looting. Faithless Looting. Probably not the best angle of approach. Alright, we got Root Boy. You know, you'd usually like to free cast it, but some interesting lines here. I do think we still lead Copter. Mirror image of the previous game. So they could Archmage Charm here. Could have removal for the Copter. The Divine Purge here, I go Inti, I hold up Bitter Triumph. If they don't, I have Inti, attack in. I know we are playing into a sweeper here, so Mount Doom's actually pretty good. I still think we present the threat here. I'm gonna put the counter on Bloodghast. The reason being is they can go Archmage Charm, Steel Rootwalla, so I want to keep it smaller. Okay, they Typhoon for 2. I think I still want the card draw as opposed to pushing the damage this turn. Because this also gives me the option, if they just like Teferi plus, just take this out here. They have access to Field of Ruin, so I might want to slow roll this Mount Doom. We have the Vents here, which is actually nice too. Target attacking creature. A nice chunk of damage here. I think that they're at 5. I bait them with the Restless Vents to try to kill. Because this can just like ping damage, which I'm pretty cool with. Okay, you get tucked. You're just dead on board. Hello, friend? You're just dead. Alright, cool. Good shit. Just let him know. Let him know. Let him know. Rudy and the boys. Rootwalla la la la. Alright, deck was sweet. I like this deck. It's fun. Let me know what you think in the comments. Catch you next time. Thanks for watching.